You're listening to episode 7 of the Comic-Bookster podcast, your source for everything comics, past, present, and future.
Dragged from what could be any comic shop in the United States to host this incredibly nerdy podcast are some of the most enthusiastic comic book readers ever assembled. They are the Comic-Booksters, dedicated to discussing news, speculation, and recommendations for all comic buyers.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Comic-Bookster podcast. My name's Nerdcore, and I'm joined by Obi. And why do I even bother going to the movies anymore?
No, that's seriously, come on now.
I mean, I paid actual money to watch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows.
It was fun.
Yeah, I mean...
Fun.
I'll give it this.
It was fun.
The last third of that movie, the third act of that movie, was better than the whole of X-Men Apocalypse. But that first act, oh God.
It was still fun.
I literally let out a groan and my heart sank when Stephen Amell uttered his first line. And I'm a big Stephen Amell fan, and he was one of the only reasons I went to see that movie. Him and Bebop and Rocksteady. But I don't know, man. Mediocre superhero and comic book films aren't acceptable these days.
Oh, I think that was my second favorite one I saw this year.
Why?
Because it was fun.
Explain, because I spent a good amount of time just kind of squirming in my chair.
Yeah, you did, which I was surprised. I didn't squirm that much at all. I don't know. I just had fun watching the movie. I had a smile on my face the whole time. It's just over the top ridiculousness. It's like the terrible Archie cartoon from when we were kids.
I love that series.
For nostalgic reasons, which is why you should like this movie, for nostalgic reasons, because it's like watching that with live action.
I did enjoy Krang. I did enjoy Krang. I enjoyed the fact that the Technodrome showed up on film. And that's really what makes this film better, for me at least, over X-Men Apocalypse, is the fact that, like I said last week, X-Men Apocalypse has done nothing new. And this, we saw Krang and we saw the Technodrome, stuff that we haven't seen in live action before. Frankly, that actually puts this head and shoulders above X-Men Apocalypse, at least.
Puts it heads and shoulders above X-Men Apocalypse and, again, Batman versus Superman.
I don't know. I think I still enjoyed Batman versus Superman a little bit more.
There's no way you enjoyed that movie. It's impossible.
I don't know. There are things I like about it. There are things I dislike about it. I give it a B-. Batman versus Superman, that is. I give a B- too. This I can give a solid C. What I really find hilarious is I checked out the reviews for this movie after watching it, and it's the fact that all of them have these really mediocre grades, like C, 5.5, but they're all written super positive because this movie was apparently that much better than the one that preceded it, which I think is hilarious. I've never bothered watching the first one in this series.
I mean, they're about the same, but this one's more fun. There's more fun action-y parts, I guess. I don't know. It's more turtles in this one. The first one, you don't get that whole turtle vibe all the way through.
So is Donatello nearsighted, farsighted? I mean, I thought those turtles had perfect vision, but for whatever reason, he's wearing glasses.
He does that he started doing that in the late or early 2000s series, Nickelodeon series.
Hmm.
And then they kind of brought that into the newest Nickelodeon series. It's just a thing to distinguish him as the dork of the group, basically.
Because we wouldn't be able to figure it out otherwise.
Yeah, if you couldn't tell by the fact that his, if you look at the rest of them and how they're built like giants, and then here he is with these little tiny arms.
And game controllers attached to his hands.
Yeah, he's just a small little guy.
Oh. Well, that's interesting. I don't really know what to say about this movie. I liked Krang. I like Shredder. Wasn't he originally a white guy? Do I not remember the first? Well, like I said, I didn't see the first movie, but in the marketing, wasn't he William Fichtner? Like last time around?
No. Fichtner was in that movie, but he's not technically Shredder in that movie.
Okay, well, that's good to know. Maybe I should actually just break down and watch it.
He's actually in the fighting with Megan Fox during that major fight scene where they fight the Shredder, actually. In the lab, because that's where she fights people, is in labs, because she's just super smart.
I'm not even gonna bother commenting. I guess, I mean, anything that stands out to you more than what stood out to me. Keep in mind, I'm kind of undergoing this renaissance of interest in the Turtles after reading Batman Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
That's right. You're not a big follower of the Turtles, right? You don't watch the Nickelodeon series that's been going on or anything?
No, I don't.
The Turtles are huge in my household anyway. They hold like a sacred spot. I mean, my mom will tell you stories about me when I was a kid, telling them that they needed to take me for walks because I had to go find the Turtle Pocky dudes, because that's what I used to call them. So they used to have to walk me every night before bed to search every street drain to see if I could find the Turtles.
I was a big Turtles fan when I was a kid too. Actually, probably before I was even a big Batman fan when that cartoon came out. And, I kind of fell out of it. But I did discover the Eastman Laird stuff and read through that a substantial amount of times. But just recent incarnations of this haven't really stuck with me. I think the last Turtles movie that I watched and really enjoyed was Turtles Forever, the animated one where the early 2000s series meets the late 80s series, and then they go back and meet the actual original comic book Turtles. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but that was pretty sweet.
That was a TV special.
Yeah.
Yeah, now I've seen that. TMNT, did you see the TMNT, the animated one? That's pretty good. This movie is no more campy than the first three live action ones. So if you like the first three live action ones, this one is right there on par with that.
I was actually watching through the first movie last night, and I just got hit with a wave of nostalgia. And I mean, you're not wrong. I don't know. I mean, it was fun. I will give it. It was fun, but it was also kind of a been there, done that for the most part. However, like I said, we got Krang and we got the Technodrome. We got Bebop and Rocksteady finally in live action. It's better than X-Men Apocalypse, in my opinion. There's still questions that I have. Like, what's Stephen Amell's salary as a corrections officer is?
Yeah.
That he's driving around in a Mustang that he's just able to total willy-nilly?
Mustang. That wasn't even a Mustang. That was a Charger or a Challenger. One of those two. There's product placement out the wazoo in this movie.
Yeah. So he's driving around in whatever it was, and props on his performance. On the whole, I enjoyed Casey Jones.
I would have liked a more New York-esque accent instead of it's just sounding like there was Arrow in New York.
I don't think he sounded much like Arrow at all, to tell you the truth.
It didn't sound like a New Yorker.
I don't know. I almost feel like his dialogue had more enthusiasm to it.
Oh yeah, it was much more happy than Arrow, but it was still the same Arrow voice.
Yeah. Well, I think that's just Stephen Amell's voice.
Probably why he got cast in this role, because maybe he just can't change his voice.
Well, I don't know. I was a big fan of his performance. I enjoyed Bebop and Rocksteady, and I'm always a sucker for Leonardo. He's my favorite turtle every single time.
I never get Leonardo fans. He's just a big tool. Every single time. Like this time. Don't tell your brothers.
He's trying to keep the team together. And in the end, he kind of separates the team. But, that's leadership drama. I mean, leadership drama 101.
It's all Mikey. You know Mikey's the best turtle. Everyone does.
Nah,
he's there for a good time.
Never been a big Michelangelo fan. I've always been more of a Leo and Donnie fan. A little bit of Raph, and then I don't know. Mikey's always at the bottom of my list. Puts me the odd man out on most of these conversations, but
yeah, nah. The other half's favorite is Raphael by like a landslide.
That's because he's the Wolverine of the team. He's the team's resident badass. That's what he does. But anyway, so I'll give TMNT 2 Out of the Shadows a C grade.
I'll also give it a C plus. I mean, maybe a B minus, and definitely a C plus. It's just fun. I don't know. It's what I want to see in a Turtles movie. I'm not going there to be wowed cinematically. If they ever made a movie like that, that would be really wowing. But it's a turtle movie produced by Nickelodeon. They're trying to hit both the old fans and the people that watch their new animated series. They're trying to keep them all happy at the same time.
Yeah, and I mean, if you want to cover the most demographics, it's probably the way to go.
Which doesn't always equal a good movie.
Yeah.
But it's a fun movie.
Yeah, someday I would like to see a real, just dark take on the Turtles.
An old Eastman and Laird take, you'll never see it.
That's a shame. I think at some point it should happen. At some point, people are going to get tired of this take on the Turtles, and they're going to need to go somewhere else with it.
And the only way I can think of it is if Eastman got the rights back.
Anyway, moving along. Let's stop talking about movies, which have seemed to dominate our shows the past couple weeks.
They've been dominating the box office, even if they're crappy.
And let's move on to talking about the big thing this week, which was the first round of DC Rebirth titles hitting, the one-shots. We had Batman, Green Arrow, Green Lanterns, and Superman all hit this week. Let's start and talk about Batman. We'll just go right down the list.
Let's do Batman first, because I think that one is the shortest. It feels the shortest anyway. That's a quick read.
But I also think it's the most quality, honestly. I really enjoyed it.
I really don't know where to put that book, but I'm not a big Batman fan. I mean, I know who Calendar Man is and all that, but so that all that's supposed to take place in that span of a week, that whole issue.
Yes. Personally, I enjoyed the writing. I thought it was a perfect torch pass from Scott Snyder to Tom King. I think out of all the titles heading into Rebirth, Batman is probably in the best shape. And it looks like, even though we are going to a new creative team, if there is going to be a dip in quality, it's going to be a very shallow dip in quality and maybe like a hiccup before it rebounds.
The art was solid on the book.
Oh, Mikel Jannin's is awesome. My favorite scene in that book was, I believe it was Tuesday, where he was talking to Lucius while doing chin-ups off the helipad, and he regained his fortune. But that spoke a lot to me about Bruce and Lucius's relationship within this continuity right now, and it just seemed like something Bruce Wayne would do. Like, I just thought it was one of the coolest things that they could have added in there. I really am intrigued about where they're going to be taking Duke Thomas, who's not being Robin, but is being someone else. I'm not entirely certain what.
Yeah, what is that, like Bat Kid, Bat Boy?
I don't know. We'll find out.
Bat Teen.
One of the things that really struck me about the art style, and I wasn't too keen on it during the past couple issues of Batman, but for whatever reason, they started doing the interior of his cape as purple, and it really stuck out to me this time. And it's either it's growing on me or just the art, Mikel Jannin's art style really complements that color choice. I just thought it looked good. And Calendar Man, the revamp on him was kind of terrifying, though I did enjoy it. I did enjoy that creepy vibe that they, managed to put out with him. But, I know you're not a big Batman fan, but what did you like and what didn't you like there, Obi?
Overall, as a book, I enjoyed it. Like, it's a solid book, quick read, fun-ish. If you it, horror-esque seems like something like Magnolia would put out. I give the book like a solid B.
I'm gonna go ahead and give Batman an A. Could things have been better? I mean, maybe. But I think it deserves at least an A grade.
The only thing that I know, the dropping of the avocado down into like the thing to wake up the bats is like symbolic, but it looks like they were trying to show something in there, and I wish they would have had the light a little bit better on that last panel to see what was down there.
I thought it was just a symbolic gesture, but
no, it looks like if you really look hard, and maybe it's just the light that I was looking at it at, it looked like there's like a something there, like a little something. Person maybe.
Oh, well, I'll have to revisit it. The only thing I can think of is maybe it's a Bloom seed from Mr. Bloom that was in their last arc. But, like I said, I'll have to look at it. That's pure speculation. But, so you're giving it a B? Yeah. I'm giving it an A. Okay, well, let's move on to the next one. The book that you were most excited for, which was Green Arrow. And I wish you all could see the expression on Obi's face, because it is a pure disappointment, which is nothing new. He is the most disappointed person I have ever met.
I'm always disappointed. All right, let's go with the positives first. They're bringing Green Arrow and Black Canary back together. Positive. They're trying to get him as a social justice warrior. Positive. He helps out the little boy without even a second thought. Positive. Let's go over the negatives. He calls himself a social justice warrior. That was like, that's not something Ollie's ever going to do. He's never just going to come out and be like, whatever. He'll support it. He'll do whatever to it, but he's never going to just like throw it in your face. That's what he is. It feels forced. The Black Canary, Green Arrow, getting them back together feels kind of forced. I feel like they could have removed the underground men. I know it brings the story into the arc of what they're going for the first initial arc of the comics, but there's not enough character build up between the two to warrant that last page.
It's kind of a will they, won't they moment. I mean, I think the idea was that they were going to kiss, but I don't think that that's actually what's going to happen. The fact that they didn't show it. Pixar didn't happen, But I'll agree with you. I felt like the social justice warrior thing was a little odd. I mean, we know that that's what the classic Green Arrow is. However, coming off of this new 52 run, I never really got the vibe that that's what that character has been since the relaunch after Flashpoint. And, I'll agree that kind of caught me a little off guard and pulled me out of it a little bit, which is right at the beginning of the story. But the other thing, I mean, I know you say that you think that the Arrow and Canary relationship is forced. One of the things about reading DC Universe Rebirth #1, which I think kind of helps that, is that it's already been stated that there's that flicker between the two of them.
Right, yeah.
And I think what this issue may make the mistake with is that it's relying on those readers who are very familiar with Green Arrow and Black Canary and know their relationship. It's falling back on that, which is fine because, I mean, like I said, DC Universe Rebirth said that it was there. But if you haven't read that, or if you're just somebody who's getting into Green Arrow for the first time and you pick that up, it does come off kind of rushed. So, I don't know. As far as Ben Percy's first issue of Green Arrow, I think there is room for improvement. I'm interested to see where it goes.
The underground men really pulled away from me. Like, he really wanted to try to capture that Grell feel, and by having those, like, you could call them underground men, but still have them be humans. Like, they're
kind of. It gave me kind of a not War of the World, H.G. Wells' The Time Machine feel with the Morlocks stealing humans, and then well, the Morlocks would eat them, but they're basically harvesting them for other people. It's a slave trade type deal.
Yeah. I mean, they have done this. There's stuff similar to this throughout Green Arrow's history in comics. It's just this one it doesn't feel like a Green Arrow. Just the I don't know, maybe it'll get better. Maybe it's just me just being like, I feel like Green Arrow should always have characters that are in the world. Like, I just reread the first 3 volumes of Grell's run, and all he ever is dealing with is humans.
Right. But do you think that might be your mistake here? I mean, I reread Batman arcs and Captain America arcs and Daredevil arcs all the time, but this Grell run is so fresh in your head now. I mean, do you think that it's almost unfair to hold it up in comparison to that?
No, and here's why. On a tweet from Ben Percy on, I think it said 5/6/2016, he said, "These are your essential books you should read before you read his Rebirth issue. Longbow Hunters, Volume 4 of the Grell run, the Adams O'Neill run, then Daredevil Born Again, and then Court of Owls was the other book that he said you should read also."
That's some eclectic choices in there.
Yes, so...
And also some very, very big shoes to fill.
Yeah, so he's hitting 2 fabulous Grell books, and then the O'Neill Adams, you're not going to touch that, really. And coming off of just seeing that list, which I just saw earlier before we recorded this episode, because I wanted to go through his Twitter and be like, let's see what this guy has to say. Because for some reason, this book's getting so many positive reviews, and I just don't get it. And I don't think we've established this.
I think, actually, if we take this back to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows, at least from my point of view, remember, I dropped Green Arrow here the past couple months while Percy was finishing up that volume
Oh.
because I was losing interest. And I'm sitting here, and I'm going to tell you flat out that I enjoyed this issue better than what he was doing previously when I dropped the book.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's better than that.
So maybe we're back to it's getting great reviews because what preceded it wasn't that great.
I just don't have a thing for this. This book for me is like a D.
I'm going to go ahead and give it a B. I think there is room for improvement.
Maybe a C. I might be a little harsh at a D. That's just because I've read this book twice and I want to like this book and I just do not see anything that make me like this book.
I said I think there's room for improvement, but I will say that Oliver Queen, aside from calling himself a social justice warrior, reads closer to the classic Oliver Queen than he has in the past 5 years. It's just good to see Green Arrow and Black Canary in the same book again, interacting. I mean, at this point, I wouldn't even necessarily need them to get back into a relationship. Just having them interacting together, I mean, that's a step forward in the right direction as far as I'm concerned.
I can't wait to see what happens when Emmy comes back into the book, because they establish in this that she's still going to be around.
Yeah. And that's a character that I thought was wonderful in Lemire's run, but I haven't really enjoyed her ever since Lemire left that book. So I'll be interested to see whatever dynamic they figure out with her in the Rebirth stuff actually makes me enjoy the character anymore.
The big thing for me, I guess, the art was fantastic, which bringing it up. I don't know about this Underground Men. I do like him keeping him in the suit or in costume, and not so much as Oliver just walking around as Oliver.
Yeah, which has been happening a lot in the past volume. So you're giving it a C, or did you hover in between C minus?
C minus, we'll go with that.
You're gonna C minus. I'm giving it a B. All right, let's move on to Green Lanterns, which was fun.
It was amazingly fun.
I didn't really know what to expect from this. I was reading Legendary Star-Lord, which Sam Humphries wrote over at Marvel, and I've currently been rereading through Jeff Johns' Green Lantern run. They co-wrote this. Ethan Van Sciver did some of the art, and I forget who else was on it, but I actually really enjoyed this. I thought it was a great setup for the series to come, which was basically Simon Baz and Jessica Cruz are on Earth. Both of them haven't been Green Lanterns for too long, and Hal Jordan decides to give them a test, and they fail. And since Hal apparently needs to rally the Corps on the other side of the galaxy, he needs somebody to watch over Earth. So we get this nice setup of this buddy cop book where these two don't really get along, and it's going to be interesting to see how their relationship grows. But I'm actually really interested in it.
I really liked when Hal took their two lanterns and then combined them into one so that they have to use it together. That's amazing.
That's a brilliant idea.
So he's like, I'm not going to be around, so you guys are going to have to learn by yourselves, and this is the way I can train you. I was like, that's genius.
And their secondary mentors are the Justice League.
Yeah. With the butt shot of Wonder Woman, of course, because why not?
Yeah, I don't know.
I didn't understand that whole thing, the way they framed that out, because I was like, does that really need to be there? I felt unnecessary.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to disagree with you on that. But on the whole, I mean, I don't really know what else to say about it. It was a fun issue.
I mean, a little depressing at first when he's cleaning off the terrorists on their garage door.
You know, I will say this. I think it was depressing to start, but I think what this issue really does is it goes to show what makes Baz and Jessica different from the Lanterns who have come before. I mean, not only does it kind of give you a roll call through the Eyes of Atrocitus on, Hal Jordan, Jon Stewart, Kyle Rayner, Guy Gardner, but you get this insight to the fact that the reason why Jessica has the ring is the fact that she used to be the most fearful person in the world until very recently, where she managed to overcome it to help the Justice League in the Darkseid War, and that's how she earned her ring. Whereas Simon Baz is very feared and fears for his people based on a religious nature, and is able to overcome that to help mankind. I think that is actually a very cool look at what makes those characters tick.
And that's kind of a thing that's kind of a running thing with Green Lanterns anyway.
Right.
Which they kind of talk about through the first page.
Yeah. So I'm actually going to give Green Lanterns an A. I think it can go up. It could certainly falter, which I don't want to think about that. But as of right now, as far as a solid setup, it certainly was that.
Yeah, no, that's definitely an A. I think it might have been my favorite book this week. That's from DC. It's not my favorite book this week though.
And finally, our last issue that we're going to cover today is Superman Rebirth #1, which you want to talk about depressing and then hopeful. I mean, Superman Rebirth #1 was kind of that, because the whole idea of, I will refer to him as Clark White, the pre-New 52 Superman. Clark White and Lana Lang are both at the tomb of the New 52 Superman, who has recently died. And they both have the idea that they're going to take the body from the tomb, and Lana wants to take it back to Smallville and bury it next to Jonathan and Martha Kent. And Clark White wants to take it to the Fortress of Solitude, which he ends up needing Lana's help to find, and put it in the regeneration matrix, which is what brought him back to life when he was killed by Doomsday back in the early 90s. So he convinces Lana to do this. They go to the fortress. They find out that the regeneration matrix does not exist in this world. So then he helps Lana bury New 52 Superman back in Smallville, and then decides to step in and fill the shoes of Superman in the Rebirth world. I really kind of like how the character development works, because it's only natural with the pre-Flashpoint Superman to try and resurrect the New 52 Superman, given that, you know, he has also come back from death at some point. While Lana, not knowing any of this, would want to respect the last wishes of the New 52 Superman.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this book a lot. I thought it was interesting that they went with Lana Lang, but I really liked that they went with Lana, because that's Clark's longtime friend. I really liked how they did that. I really liked when they went to the fortress that he had, because usually when you see the Fortress of Solitude, you do only see him have his parents from Krypton, and they had both sets there. That was really cool.
And in the end, there's also now a statue to the New 52 Superman that Clark White constructs. And I believe he puts them right between both Jor-El and Lara and Jonathan and Martha's statues.
Yeah. So that this book, to me, this was my favorite book from DC this week.
I liked it. I think it's putting Superman back on the right track. Not that he's necessarily been off of it too much. Frankly, I really enjoyed Grant Morrison and Rise Morales' early run on Action Comics, and I really enjoyed Greg Pak and Aaron Cooter, Aaron Cutter. I always get confused on that. But I really enjoyed their run on Action Comics as well. I kind of was disappointed when it all got caught up in the Truth Saga, because it kind of disrupted it for me. But there were those brief glimpses of the Superman we once knew, Superman as a symbol of hope throughout the New 52, that I didn't always feel were present for the most part. But this, I really think, is bringing back the feel of what Superman comics should be.
Yeah, this is definitely getting back to the heart of Superman. I'm very excited to be reading Superman again.
It's almost sad, though, that it's getting back to the heart of Superman by bringing back a previous incarnation of Superman. Don't get me wrong, this is by far my favorite version of Superman, brought in with Man of Steel by John Byrne, and goes all the way to Grounded, which was not my favorite Superman story.
Let's not talk about that.
But it is my favorite version of the character. It's the one that I grew up reading. Still, it is kind of sad that the New 52 Superman wasn't given a chance to grow into that character.
He might come back, you never know. It is comics.
Yeah, true. But for right now, this is our Superman, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah. You know, I really like the throwback to the when that on the panel where they go through his death, and they have the Death of Superman panel.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
It was incredibly well done.
Yeah. I was surprised they actually put that in there, and I was like, you did a great job at that.
So I'm going to go ahead and say that I'm going to give Superman Rebirth an A-.
I'm going to give it an A+.
Fair enough. Still, two very good scores. And overall, I think our thoughts coming out of these Rebirth issues and looking at things moving forward is pretty positive.
Yeah.
I know you weren't very happy with Green Arrow, but I say, on the whole, even with Green Arrow's low score from Obi, we're looking at about a B plus grade here.
Yeah, no, Percy, even with that last run of the New 52, had some points where he hit that social justice stuff right. So I think he can do it. I just think he's trying to do it too fast. I think you have to have Arrow falter. He's really good at doing that and then bringing his way back. And I feel like bringing Black Canary in, they're going to have his cover too quickly.
Yeah, and honestly, I did, and obviously we're backtracking, but I didn't like how it was Black Canary talking to Green Arrow like Green Arrow spoke to Hal Jordan back during the O'Neil Adams run. I mean, that kind of seemed weird to me too. But we'll see how it plays out. I mean, I assume you're gonna stick with it at least for a few issues.
It's a book I don't think I've ever dropped it except for that little bit of time when I wasn't buying comics. I've never not read Green Arrow.
So
that's you're a lifer for something, and I'm a sucker for Green Arrow, even if it disappoints me.
All right, that'll do it for this week's edition of the Comic-Booster podcast. If you enjoyed it, go ahead and follow us on Podbean, Stitcher, iTunes, what have you. Once again, this is Nerdcore, and for Obi, you guys take it easy.
Keep reading comics.
Thanks again for tuning into the Comic Bookster podcast. We would love to hear from you with feedback and suggestions. You can send those to us by email at thecomicbooksters@gmail.com or on Twitter @comicbooksters. And be sure to follow us on Facebook. So long, everybody.